People dissatisfied with a range of issues are gathered in Centennial Square today. They are participants in the Occupy Victoria demonstration, which is part of the larger Occupy movement that's been spreading across the continent and now the world. John Muller says he's been following the movement as it spread from Wall Street, and he was struck by its nonviolent message.
I think one of my greatest concerns is lack of employment opportunities for young people. Very many of my friends find themselves crushed by massive student loans and an inability to find significant employment to pay them down.
A few hundred people are in the square this afternoon cheering and listening to speakers. Tasha Diamond says she feels strongly that if change doesn't come soon, there won't be anything left for future generations.
The reason I came today is because I finally feel like there's enough people that are finally waking up to the fact that if we don't change the way things operate, then we're going to destroy ourselves.
It's day 3 now of the peaceful demonstrations in Centennial Square, as participants in the Occupy Victoria movement gather over a range of issues. They've been there since Saturday, setting up tents and spending their nights in the square. Yesterday, meetings were held to try and work out the logistics of staying there for the long term.
Here in Victoria, we're demonstrating our solidarity with the rest of the protesters globally. So as long as this is happening, we're going to be here.
There's a makeshift kitchen cooking donated food for those who want to stay. So far, there have not been any reported altercations between police and demonstrators. The Occupy Victoria camp remains, despite a city bylaw which prohibits tents in public parks during daytime hours. Protester Gaurang McIntyre says so far they've had no problem with police trying to move them.
Police, the mayor, they've all been great, totally supportive. So, yeah, we haven't felt any burden or any ill effects being here.
And Mayor Dean Fortin isn't asking them to move either.
The mayor has basically blessed us and said we can stay there as long as our message is getting across, as long as it's a safe and sanitary environment.
Mayor Dean Fortin again suggested today that the city has no intention of moving the current setup of tents in Centennial Square, even though 3 years ago the homeless campers in that same space were being removed.
How long are the tents going to be in Centennial Square, sir?
I don't know. What we see here, I don't see it so much as a protest as really just a democratic assembly of people who say, I want my voice to be heard. Here are some of the issues I need to be concerned. It is peaceful. Let it continue and let those voices continue to be heard. We'll see how long.
City's not taking any steps.
I see no reason to take any steps at this time.
I know it was a late night last night at City Council, so we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us this morning.
Well, I had put forward a motion before council that recognized the democratic rights of people to gather and peacefully protest, and the motion essentially ended with a call of support for the People's Assembly of Victoria, and after some debate, that motion was passed.
What a difference a week makes for Occupy Victoria protesters camped in Centennial Square outside Victoria City Hall. Just a week ago, Mayor Dean Fortin said there was no deadlines for the end of the protest camp, but that message is changing significantly. City of Victoria staff now say it needs the square for numerous holiday events beginning in less than 3 weeks, and the demonstrators may have to move. A Victoria spokesperson says the city supports peaceful protest, but in addition to law enforcement and cleanup bills topping $40,000, the entire square will soon be needed for other things.
The Occupy movement, the protest camp, which has been there for, a few weeks now, is due to come to an end at noon today. At least that's the order from the city. We've heard from the mayor.
There's a recognition that there is a large criminal element movement in it.
Constable Mike Russell, talk more about the criminal element.
Yeah, we certainly have seen it shift in the demographics. I wouldn't say undesirables, but it's, undesirable behavior. There's a lot of drug use. We know that the needle boxes are getting really full in Centennial Square, so that is indicative of higher drug use.
We go live to Centennial Square. CFAX reporter Kyle Reynolds. We're minutes away from the city's deadline. What's happening, Kyle?
Right now, it seems there's a crowd probably of about, I'd say, over 100, maybe 125, 150, that area. And the majority of them are circling a media area that had been previously established here in Centennial Square. And they're forming a human chain around the structure. And it seems like they have the heart set on sticking around. There's also one gentleman who has set up a bit of a tree fort, about 50 feet up a tree, and he has a bottle with him, and it looks like he is planning on sticking around.
We are down in Centennial Square. It is the lunch hour. The deadline that was imposed by the City of Victoria has come and gone. Very emotionally charged scene as that deadline approached at 12 noon. Joining us to speak more about this, Devin, were you personally prepared to be arrested over this? Is that something you feel that strongly about?
Yeah, being arrested, this is definitely something worth taking all the way.
Jesus Christ, I've been looking at that ugly face of that woman on our money since I was a little kid. Yeah. And I'm tired of looking at her. Why can't we have Brian Adams on there? Or Celine Dion, people that matter in our lives?
Would that solve income inequality?
No, but at least it would stop aesthetic pleasingness of our money.
Though some of the tents have been removed from Centennial Square, over a dozen remain. Yesterday, city bylaw officers handed out eviction notices to campers at the square, informing them the city would take legal action if they did not remove all tents and items from the site by noon today.
Well, there was a commotion at Centennial Square on the Occupy front this morning. Yesterday, a protester built a fort up a tree near the front of Centennial Park, saying he was staying up there as a form of protest. Well, this morning, city trucks and Victoria Police showed up to remove his bicycle. It was hanging from the tree, and they said it was a safety hazard. But when a city bucket truck went to remove the bike, a protester lobbed a 2-liter bottle of a fluid at the worker. There are unconfirmed reports that bottle may have contained urine. The bucket truck retreated, and city workers and police are now mulling over their next move.
An apparent assault that took place earlier today. Constable Mike Russell with Vic PD.
He got a surprise. The man up in the tree allegedly dumped a bottle of urine on him. That is so disgusting and very disturbing for us to see.
The man alleged to have thrown urine on a city worker from a tree in Centennial Square voluntarily came down from the tree last night. Victoria Police Inspector Clark Russell says the man was taken to hospital for a mental health assessment.
And depending on the outcome of the assessment at the hospital, he'll either be admitted or he'll be released, and if he's released, we'll take him into custody and process him for the assault charge.
A Victoria City Councillor is questioning the city's request to Occupy Victoria protesters to leave Centennial Square.
I think that with stepping up this enforcement by cutting off water and electricity last week, we seem to be moving or the city seems to be moving into a situation that makes that peaceful resolution more doubtful, more up in the air.
The City of Victoria is following through on its threat to seek a court injunction.
We do have breaking news just before we get to politics with Michael Prince. We go to BC Supreme Court in Victoria. Ryan Price was in court for the decision on the city's application for an injunction concerning Centennial Square. Ryan, what happened?
Well, the BC Supreme Court Justice Terence Schultz did grant the City of Victoria its court order to remove campers from Centennial Square next to City Hall. The enforcement is for tomorrow, November 19th at 7 a.m. is when the court order is in effect for the campers to clear out. Yet, at the same time, the judge did not grant the enforcement clause, which the city lawyers had also asked for. So the order's there, but if the campers do not comply and come 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, campers are still there, the city is permitted to return to court as soon as possible and ask for that enforcement order.
People's Assembly of Victoria participant representing the Occupy movement, Anushka Naji, says they're pleased the judge did not grant an enforcement order because she says Occupy followers plan to comply and pack up their tents anyways. Although she says she cannot speak for everyone in the square.
There might be some people on Saturday morning that choose to stay and choose to force the city into getting an enforcement order and doing all of those things, and power to them.
Well, it appears the City of Victoria will have to go back to Supreme Court on Monday to seek an enforcement order allowing them to forcibly remove leftover protesters from the Occupy Victoria camp. A few people in around 10 tents could be seen at Centennial Square past the 7 o'clock deadline this morning.
The City of Victoria is now armed with an enforcement order to back up a court injunction against the Occupy camp in Centennial Square. Spokesperson with the City of Victoria, Katie Josephson.
But I can tell you that the police are very aware of our need to
enter into the square and get back to work. And we have a number of holiday programs that are hinging on us getting in there. So time is of the essence.
Good morning. Victoria police officers moved into Centennial Square around 5 o'clock this morning, about an hour ago, to remove the remaining tents and campers who were in defiance of a court order to clear the square. Victoria Police Constable Mike Russell says the 8 or so tents that were left have now been taken down, and the occupants have been taken to local shelters or detox centers.
There's a lot of protesters here. That's the thing. It's, sort of the people that we've been talking about all along that have kind of come in and co-opted the messaging that, the Occupy Victoria people are trying to get out.
Victoria City Hall revealed the occupation protests in Centennial Square this fall cost taxpayers a total of $235,000. Over $100,000 of that was for policing. The balance was for cleanup of the square and repair of damage done to public restrooms.
If it's happening, it's here. Victoria's News Authority, CFAX 1070.